We are looking at one of the masterpieces by Vermeer. On purpose, I'm not giving you the title as there are many questions hidden behind the narrative of this scene. In terms of painting and film, a very intriguing point is the visual perspective created here. Actually, the distance that we, the viewers, are seeing two characters in a full shot. Access to them is limited by well-balanced multi-layering of space on the right. In the foreground, we have the table. In the middle ground, there is a chair. And they are actually functioning in their private, intimate space in the third or fourth ground. I'm not sure if you're familiar with proxemics, the study of distance and the way people function in it. There are 4 phases of proxemics: intimate one, personal one, social, and public. And they perfectly transform into focal length of camera lens optics. Intimate space is when people function in a distance of about 50 centimeters with one another. And in filmic terms, it would be like close-up or a middle close-up. And this juxtaposition, this contrasting point, that we, the viewers, are looking at the scene from a distance at two people functioning in a close distance, intimate space, makes this painting a masterpiece. Vermeer, in a very careful manner, studied light at different parts of the day. Most of his paintings are done in this particular room, windows being key natural source coming from the left side. We can examine the way shadows work, direction of the light, and what's the strength of diffusion by the sky. I analyzed this painting in the previous editions of the course with Łukasz Żal, Oscar-nominated cinematographer behind Ida and Cold War, and he said that if we were supposed to study the light coming from the window, it wouldn't be realistically copied, meaning that Vermeer manipulated his work to perfect the painting's composition and balance, which is fine because film is close to reality, but it's manipulated reality, both in terms of narrative and visuality. I love the idea here of reflected light coming from the top left window and in the most subtle way touching the edge of the carpet on the table, accentuating its colorful pattern, and this strong reflection on this white jack balances the whole of painting's composition. Figures are just delicately silhouetted, and if you look carefully, shadows on the wall on the upper side are not that strong as the ones below the window. If you look closely at the mirror's reflection, you can see that the woman is looking right at the man, and in the real space, she's looking forward. You can just see her back. And there are infrared analysis of this painting showing that in the previous versions, the woman was looking right at the man because she was waiting for his reaction, and the man was leaning towards her. So they were in more dynamic positions. However, to reinforce the composition and relation of the characters, Vermeer decided to leave them in static positions. He hasn't changed the mirror's reflection, making it one of the biggest mysteries of Western history of painting. This way, we have access to inner life and thoughts of our character. In the reflection, and you can also see one of the legs of the easel. This way, Vermeer accentuated his presence and added additional perspective. There is also one more interesting thing. The image of the reflection is a little bit darker, separating it from the original space. Careful and dynamic composition, focus on perspective, are of prime importance to Vermeer. The left elbow of the woman blouse is the vanishing point of the painting, and actually Vermeer created a hole in the canvas to build the perspective. The vanishing point, the placement of rectangular shapes around the woman, mirror touching the lines, that red dress and before mentioned reflection in the mirror just highlight her significance as a character and probably answers that fundamental question: who owns that space? In the time of Vermeer, the camera obscura was already in use, but it's not 100% sure that Vermeer used this device. But if he did, it definitely helped him to construct his composition by capturing the way light and shadows worked. Imagine you are making a full scene out of this painting. Is it a static shot for the whole scene? When do you start to move? When do you start to dolly? Is it a POV of another character at the distance? Or maybe it's a POV cheater and at some point you introduce a character into a scene coming out of the viewer's perspective. If you set the light this way for the whole scene, I mean the strong key light coming from the left, how would you set the fill light? I mean, is it necessary? How would you stage the characters afterwards? How would you introduce tension, sounds, voices of the characters within the distance? How would you give access to the emotions of the characters? Would you change camera shot distance and edit the whole scene? And which lens would you use? Would you go anamorphic or a spherical one? Or shift between lenses at some point in the scene? Which lens would be better for staging characters in depth? More questions and answers in our mutual discussion during the course. We would ask and answer these kinds of questions with other paintings. I invite all of you, filmmakers, art lovers, visual artists, to join me in this creative process.